Hello, you are all very welcome to the latest episode of the Talk of the League podcast here on the weekly Armchair Sports Talk YouTube channel. And obviously, this isn't Jamie beside me. Jamie has to, he had something he had to deal with this weekend, so we have to call in a super sub, and that is Tariq from Tariq Talks YouTube channel. Tariq, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing good, Matt. Thanks for letting me on. Guys, if you are watching and you're looking, it looks like I've been crying. It's hay fever season over here in the UK, and I'm struggling bad.
Yeah, it's not that bad being an Arsenal fan, man, is it? Trust me, it makes you
Not
worse
at the
than me.
moment. Yeah, if it was representative on my club, of each other's clubs, you'd definitely
I
be
should be crying,
crying.
yeah.
Yeah. Tears would be got rolling.
Well, listen, obviously, usually on this channel, we usually touch on the weekend's results and stuff like that in the Premier League, but because it's international week, we don't have any results to chat about. And we will be talking about the upcoming fixtures this weekend. But obviously, I'm Irish, you're English, you're based in England as well. So we're going to get stuck into the international week and the current England squad. So we're going to get straight into it. England had a 2-1 win over Switzerland at Wembley Stadium. You did a watch along for this game, Tariq. How do you think they played?
Do you know what? I'll be honest. When I was doing the watch along, I wasn't really paying too much attention to the game. But the bits that I did see, I did think that England overall we did enough to win the game. We looked to threat on the counter attack. It was nice to see the new boys who haven't had too many appearances play, and they were quite impressive for me, especially when you look at the likes of Conor Gallagher, who received high praise at the end of that game for his engine, so being so up and down. Is the energy that he provides into that midfield is something that we've really been missing in England. But he also has that technical ability to his game as well. So yeah, we have to remember the Switzerland side. They are a very decent side. Where did they get to in the Euros? They played Spain in the quarterfinals, I believe.
Yeah.
They got past France as well. Yeah, so Switzerland are no joke. And they did have their opportunities when they did score the goal to take the lead. They were in the ascendancy at that point. There was having a few chances knocking on the door, drew a few saves from your club goalkeeper, Jordan Pickford, who, throughout the whole of it, I thought he actually looked all right, and there was one reaction save which I thought was fantastic. And Jordan Pickford, when he's playing for England, he hasn't really let them down, and that's what we have to look at. And yeah, Gareth Southgate, he has picked him, and we'll get more into this when we talk about the goalkeeper pick, I'm sure. But yeah, he was decent.
So that's the question I wanted to kind of start this England team conversation with. So obviously Harry Maguire gets an awful lot of stick from his club fans. Luke Shaw has come in for that kind of stick as well. Jordan Pickford, I think, gets a lot of stick, probably from other fans, not necessarily Everton fans, because I think majority of Everton fans believe that he is a decent keeper and he should be England's number one. But I think opposition fans, obviously like yourself, maybe will put a good point across for like Ramsdale to come in. But is it a case that these players just aren't performing for their clubs, but you can't drop them because they haven't let their country down at the moment? I mean, obviously Luke Shaw, the previous couple of games, I mean, he scored in the Euros final and stuff like that. Harry Maguire was very solid in the Euros. Pickford got the Golden Glove, clean sheets in the Euros and stuff like that. Can you drop a player based on club form when it's coming into an important period for the English side, especially with the World Cup coming up it's going to be in November, December this year?
I think it's a fantastic question. And yeah, if we're talking goalkeeper for goalkeeper, it's most definitely Ramsdale's a better goalkeeper in my eyes. And if we're talking club form and the amount of games, but when we look at the game and the top sides who've played before and won trophies in the international, there's always been a few players, at least a couple, maybe 1, 2, 3 at times where they haven't been performing too great in their club career for the team that they're playing for. But like Giroud for France, when there's been other strikers that have arguably been playing better than him in their club. For Germany, they had Miroslav Klose, who was poor in their club side, but he was playing a lot of games. Mario Gomez, those types of players there. I do think you have to have a bit of continuity. And the fact that you said Jordan Pickford hasn't let England down, and he has been a key performer for England. Penalties, big saves in big moments, which we saw against Denmark, for example, in the semi-finals of the Euros. I do think you have to take that into consideration, because if you solely pick off club form, you won't have any continuity, because there's so many other factors. Look at Everton as a whole this season. Like Jordan Pickford, how can you just completely pick a player or dismiss a player because Everton have been a poor side in general? Aaron Ramsdale, he has been fantastic, and he has been a key performer into where Arsenal are in currently. But you can also say, if when he was at Sheffield United, when he was lower in the league, nobody was calling for him to start then. And he was a key performer there. He was their player of the season at Sheffield United. And then when his previous club, Bournemouth, but people weren't saying that because, people, if you play for a bigger club, per se, you will get more of a shout. So long-winded way, I do agree that you should keep players and have a trust in them. Like if you've ever done coaching, Matt, and if you're trying to build a togetherness in the team and that mentality and make sure everyone's on side, and if you're a Ramsdale, a second choice goalkeeper who is currently where he currently is right now under Southgate, he'll be chomping at the bit and he'll be ready when, if and when Jordan Pickford makes that error, and then he can come in and slot in and then be a key performer. But yeah, I agree. I would say, keep Jordan Pickford in for now for England.
So obviously with Aaron Ramsdale and stuff like that, he pulls off these mad saves and he's very theatrical and stuff like that. And I think he's probably becoming a bit of a fan favourite, especially with the Arsenal fans, and probably people are coming around to the fact that maybe he should be brought into the England starting 11. Like you touched on it there with Jordan Pickford making these mistakes. He's not really making mistakes for Everton. It's simply he's being let down by his backline. I mean, when Everton are losing 2 or 3-0, it could be 5 or 6-0, only for he's keeping them in the game as best as he can. Is it a case where if you drop Jordan Pickford based on his club's performances, not necessarily his performances, but then you throw Ramsdale in and say Ramsdale makes a mistake or two on his England debut or something like that, then what do? You might ruin Ramsdale's confidence then as well. You might ruin Jordan Pickford's confidence by dropping him as well. So obviously, I don't envy Southgate in terms of it's a good position to be in. He obviously has 2 very talented goalkeepers there. Obviously, then his third choice as well, probably going to be between Nick Pope and Johnson of West Brom, isn't it?
Yeah.
So listen, it's going to be a tough choice for him. Obviously, I think both of them will be on the plane to Qatar. I'd say Ramsdale and Pickford will be 1 or 2. It'll be between the 2 of them, I'd say. In terms of the left back position, obviously Mitchell got called up there as well for Crystal Palace. Luke Shaw started the game after a lot of people were a bit shocked by it and ended up scoring a great goal as well. Harry Maguire, by all accounts, had a decent game as well. In terms of, for example, say if the Qatar World Cup was moved to this summer, okay?
Yeah.
Do you think the squad that Gareth Southgate had there recently would be the squad that's going? Obviously, they had a few people miss out due to injuries and illness and stuff like that. But the players that were called up, do you feel as though they have a good opportunity to get on the plane to Qatar?
I do think that they have a good opportunity when you're looking at it in that way, because when you think with England and with Gareth Southgate, he hasn't been afraid to give players opportunities at times, but I don't think that would be the squad that he'd pick for that. I don't think in terms of any exclusions, like if you're thinking of Kyle Walker, for example, I think Kyle Walker would have a massive opportunity. We saw this previously before the Euros, where Kyle Walker was dropped from a squad because he came out and said, "Oh, do you know what I'm going to get from Kyle Walker? This is an opportunity to see what the other players are going to do. The players who are on the fringes, who are just on the cusp of making that England side, will have the opportunity to show." And I think that Gareth Southgate has had a good mixture of that. So he's had the senior players involved as well. I know he's drawn a lot of controversy for this, but Harry Maguire being in the side, who, let's be honest, if he continues this level of performance up until the Euros, where there's no improvement at all in his game, I think his place could be in jeopardy for that reason, because it's just going to be over a prolonged period of time. But once again, it ties in with he's not let the country down. So how far can you really go with that? And international football, three at the back may just suit him much better. And that's where Gareth Southgate will get the best out of his game. You know, with Luke Shaw scoring on the weekend, the exact same thing happened there. So I don't think it will be per se. And you know, the players that have missed a couple of games or have dropped out, like Saka and Smith Rowe wasn't even on the bench. If it's a World Cup game or if it's a competitive game for England and a tournament, these players will play with one leg. Like that's how it usually is with these sides. So yeah, I'm trying to think now. I'm going to ask you as well, Matt. Who do you think will, like, if this was the current situation? Who do you think would have the best opportunity in this squad right now to get on that plane to Qatar?
See, that's the question I was going to ask you as well. Like Conor Gallagher as well. It's going to be an interesting situation for him because obviously, if the World Cup was this summer, you'd probably say he deserves a place in the 23-man squad. Not necessarily starting. He probably wouldn't get a game if he went over there. But he's in an interesting situation as well. Obviously, with the sanctions against Chelsea at the moment as well, his loan period is going to end at Crystal Palace. Is he going to be loaned out again? Is he going to be let be loaned out again? Is he going to be getting game time with Chelsea? The fact that this is a Winter World Cup as well, like a lot of deals would be done usually during the summer. Conor Gallagher is probably saying to himself, I'm getting a taste of an England jersey here. Like, I need to be playing week in, week out. He might try and force a move to Crystal Palace permanently as well. But if the sanctions are still surrounding Chelsea, now obviously over the next couple of weeks, we're going to get a bit more clarity with the situation at Chelsea. So I don't think it's all going to be doom and gloom. I think in a few weeks' time, we'll be back to normal in regards to Chelsea. But in terms of Conor Gallagher, obviously you said he has a great engine on him and stuff like that. Do you feel as though he needs to move from Chelsea and find a regular team, find regular football, or do you think he's good enough to fit into the current Chelsea midfield?
I do think he's good enough. He could get into that current Chelsea midfield, but it's a difficult one because with Thomas Tuchel, we're talking about trusting players again with the likes of Kante, Jorginho, Kovacic. He's definitely good enough to play games, but will he play enough games that he needs to get into that England side? When you're going to have other midfielders, James Ward-Prowse, I don't think he's as good as Conor Gallagher and has an all-round game like himself, but he's going to be playing games, isn't he? And it's that age-old question when Jack Wilshere was brought up to the England squad after playing very little games. He only played like a couple of games towards the end of the season. And a lot of people were like, no, wrong decision. You have to pick players who are playing. And that might be the case. And you've raised a great point there because the situation now, I think he would get picked into the squad. But this could be completely different by the time it comes to November time when that squad has to be announced. And he could be still at Chelsea. He might be getting a bit part, maybe a couple of games, but that's nowhere near enough for what's needed. Because if we look at that central midfield area as well, it's quite stacked at the moment in terms of players that are playing. So Declan Rice, Calvin Phillips, if he's back fit, he'll be playing. Those are the two players that started the most for the Euros. We've still got Jude Bellingham knocking on the door. Jordan Henderson, who's still playing. And then, Liverpool have a few English midfielders as well. So if Harvey Elliott's in and around, who can play in that central area. But James Ward-Prowse, just to name another, we could be looking at something quite difficult for Conor Gallagher if he's not getting the game time. So it's going to be a huge summer for him.
I think it's going to be. I think when it comes down to it, we're not going to expect any major surprises. Only for if an injury comes in, you have to remember the likes of even Kieran Trippier as well. Like when he comes back, because even though he has like a season-ending injury, you keep forgetting that the World Cup's not for 5 months later. So he'll be back as well. He'll have a pre-season in. He'll be playing 10 or 12 games in the league for his team as well. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see. Obviously, the likes of Harry Kane and all are going to go. It's going to be interesting to see the likes of Sterling and all gets picked. Marcus Rashford, if he finally gets his head out of the clouds and gets selected as well. Obviously, they're probably down a few players, obviously with the Greenwood situation and stuff like that as well. So there's going to be opportunities there as well for the likes of Sancho, because Sancho didn't get a lot of game time in the Euros either for England. So it's going to be interesting if he has a good end to this season for Manchester United and also a good start to next season for Manchester United. you'd nearly think he has that right hand side nailed down as well. But as an Irish fan, I'm not a big fan of international week for obvious reasons. Even though we had a great result against Belgium there, I'm gonna say that Ireland managed to get 2-2 draw at home against the world's number one side, even even though it was pretty much their third team that they put out. It was disgraceful. They were charging €120 a ticket, and they were advertising it as Ireland are playing world's number one, and then it was like Origi up front.
And Batshuayi.
Yeah. But listen, I suppose they're going to try and make money as whatever way they can. But let's get back to what we usually always talk about, Tariq, and let's get stuck into your club, Arsenal. I'm going to bring you back to the start of the season, okay? What were your expectations and ambitions for Arsenal at the very start of the season? Try and delete from your mind where you are at the moment. Bring yourself back to the summer, and what was your expectations? Did you ever feel like you were going to be challenging for the top four like you are now?
Absolutely not. My expectations for Arsenal, it was quite leveled and realistic in terms of I just wanted us to get back into European football, whether that's through the Conference League or Europa League, preferably. That's where I was looking at. That's where the target was set, because it's all about transition and progress. I'm prepared to take this slowly because that's the stance that the club is willing to take. Yes, I know when we're talking about Arsenal, it's, well, yeah, we need to get back to the top where we have been, where, you know, a lot of our fans are used to or became fans at that period. So I'm just looking at it and thinking, at the start of the season, we had loads of players leave. We had quite a few players coming in to transition of the squad. Anything, just progress is what I want from Mikel Arteta after a poor season in the end. When we're looking at it from finishing 8th, that's no improvement from when he took over. But we know that December period, that November-December period was that choppy waters, and when his job was under threat. But seemingly by the media and fans, but I'm not too sure whether that was the case within the club. But after that, we saw a massive improvement in our form. And there was quite a few stats from that January onwards until the end of the season where we actually didn't lose too many games, and there was a whole transition in how many goals we were scoring, chances created, defense was looking a lot more solid, and we've changed that team now. And then if I'm going to say, for example, the first 3 games of the season, I can't lie, I was disappointed because the Brentford defeat, it didn't show me that anything changed. And defensively speaking, once again, we ended the season defensively strong, but then in our first 3 games, we look back to the old soft touch, you know, the old Arsenal conceding a goal from a long throw in. Bern Leno can't claim a cross, but there were still quite a few signings that were made towards the end of that. But yeah, the Chelsea game, Man City, losing to them, there's no shame in that, but it's how you lose. And we got played off the park by Chelsea and battered by Manchester City. So yeah, it was very difficult at that moment. But then we had the new signings coming in not January, for the end of the window. Tomiyasu, Ødegaard, Ramsdale came back into the side, and it was those 3 players. Gabriel came back from injury, and so did Thomas Partey. And that's when we started to chug along. But even then, it's only been probably about a month ago. I've been a month or 2 saying, right, now we kind of have to take this opportunity of top 4, because I was overwhelmed. I was thinking, wow, we're actually going to be within Europe now. We're fighting for a Champions League place. This is even further ahead. So if we make that step ahead of where we are now in making the Champions League, then that's an unbelievable achievement. And Mikel Arteta has to be in the hat for manager of the season. But yeah, it's just, I'm still taking it game by game. But looking at the other sides around where we can have that consistency and we can keep going, unlike Man United and Spurs, who their performances, Spurs in particular, who have been impressive and have impressed me in certain games, but then they just go back to their old ways and fall back to default. But United, they've been poor, but the only reason they're in this position is because of how the quality of players that they have in terms of taking the chances that that they have been given at times. Ranić's got them playing better football than they were under Ali, but still have those fragilities in midfield, defense, and not cohesion. That lack of cohesion up top. But yeah, I'm. Talk back to Arsenal, Matt. I'm delighted for the position we're in.
Yeah, I'd say I obviously always liked Arteta. I always thought he was going to have to be given a chance. It was a big enough fall from grace for Arsenal, and they did have to press the reset button. And it's a big step for a club like Arsenal. And you could probably look at a club like Manchester United at the moment as well. They're probably going to have to go down that Arsenal route as well. And I've said it to you before as well. Um, as an Arsenal fan, are you delighted to see the likes of Saka, Martinelli, Odegaard, Smith Rowe coming through? Lacazette kind of being the big brother to all these guys up front as well. Xhaka and Partey in midfield. You have a young goalkeeper there as well. Solid enough back line there. Ben White as well, looking like he's probably worth the 50 million that they've paid from. Maybe not so much yet, but he is improving and he's doing really well for Arsenal at the moment. Are you encouraged that the process has probably actually worked?
100%. And every single manager in football needs time. They do need time to be given. Like, even if it goes through some choppy waters, they need time, because if you're going to be in the position that Arsenal were in with the squad, the players that we did have, Mustafi's, David Luiz's, there was quite a few players. I can't run through them now because we'll be here all day. But that we just didn't have this connection to that Arsenal as fans, we felt disconnected. I've heard a lot of Arsenal fans come out and say this. I didn't care for these players after the game. Like, social media, I'd see them, it'd make me more angry rather than like, oh, that's my player. You have that connection with. Completely different with this side. As you just said right there, the young players, a breath of fresh air. To see players who are that hungry and talented, but show a level of mentality where they can play this game at the men's level against very experienced pros who may not be as gifted as them talented wise, but when we're looking down the league, but they have that know-how and nous where Ashley Young, for example, but Saka's still taking him on and he's getting kicked off the park and he's still keeping up that level of performance. It's just brilliant to see. And there's, as you said, the key players in and around them, those players of experience. Xhaka, whose name's been thrown under the bus, linking in with the likes of Mustafi, Özil's, those types of players, let us down. But did they let him down? Did that whole squad, that whole thing, that let him down? Because he's been elite. He's been considered as one of the leaders now from Arsene Wenger, Unai Emery, and Mikel Arteta. Unless you, and all three managers, one of them the greatest in our history, another one who's won how many countless Europa League, yes, but European trophies for goodness sake, and then Mikel Arteta, who's a young manager who has been a leader himself at Arsenal, captain, and was captain at Everton as well, right? Was he one part of the leadership team? So to see that and him help other players and push them on and give them advice. And yes, he can get, he wears his heart on his sleeve, Granit Xhaka, and he has a bit of head loss. But from what he's done this season, he hasn't let us down. Thomas Partey's level, ridiculous. It's been since the turn of the year. Really, after the Manchester United game, when I was done, I was said, that's it. Like, I'm sorry, Partey has to be considered a flop now. The time, I can't be saying, yes, we have to give him time to still develop. But even then, he's taken his game to the next level. Next game against Southampton. Okay, this is the start of the Thomas Partey we're seeing. And as you said, Lacazette, who's had to sit there, bide his time. He had Aubameyang in front of him, playing loads more games. We know what Lacazette, the same with Xhaka as well, what they have limited, like, we know their strengths and weaknesses. Whereas with the young players that we've got, the sky's the limit because they don't really have any, they're not showing any form of weakness yet. But with Lacazette, to have that character, sit there and wait and not mumble, not groan, is to show these young lads, if you're patient enough, your time will come. And it's all about grabbing that opportunity by the scruff of the neck and taking it. So yeah, man, it's just a different group of players that we're connected to.
Yeah, it's great that Thomas Partey seemed to have went to an international tournament just to recharge his batteries. He's came back a different player, hasn't he? But
Yeah.
I want to touch on as well before we move on a little bit more. Obviously, the Aubameyang situation with Arsenal. I've said to you in the past as well. I said the best deal that Arsenal did in the January transfer window was get rid of Aubameyang. Um, does it leave a bit of a sour taste in your mouth the fact that he's actually blowing up La Liga at the moment? He is playing like he did beforehand. Do you think it was literally he fell out of love, not necessarily with the club, but the situation that he was left in at Arsenal? But do you think it was the best deal for all three parties, Arsenal, Aubameyang, and Arteta himself?
Yeah, I do think it's the latter. When we're looking at it with Aubameyang, that change of environment is so important to anyone in life, in any job that we do. Sometimes you may get a little bit stale, and if things aren't going your way, and the company, the business that you play working for, is deciding to go in a different direction, in terms of how they're gonna plan in a different way, and or for in football, in terms tactically, how we've tactically evolved and what we require from our striker now. And Aubameyang, even how great he has been at Arsenal overall, his game wasn't suited to how we wanted to play. It wasn't suited to get the best out of Bukayo Saka, Emil Smith Rowe, Martinelli. I think
So do you think Arsenal evolved past Aubameyang?
yeah, in terms of definitely, because I think the game has essentially, when we have strikers at this, who, if you're trying to be an elite side, you need to have a lot more outside of the box than what Aubameyang does. In the box, elite finisher. We're seeing that at Barcelona now. He's had that instant impact. He's been a part of that revival under Xavi, and and I think the as you said, as I was saying, sorry, the environment, the different league, the weather, all these things play a part into having that fresh, reinvigorated start for Aubameyang. And we saw this towards his tail end at Dortmund as well. So it's not just an isolated incident at Arsenal, which I've seen a lot of Arsenal fans say, "Oh, it's just Arteta, man management again." It's if it's in a repeat. It's something that's occurred previously, so you can't be tarnishing Mikel Arteta under that brush. Big up brush in the chat. But we've seen it with Özil that's come out during the international break, lost his place in the Fenerbahce squad. What's happening here? Guendouzi, when he was on loan at Hertha Berlin, manager was talking about how he was basically, paraphrasing, a petulant child. There's these things, like, you have to, it's so important to keep that culture and to keep that group in a tight knit. And we can say this at Manchester United, for example. There's different cliques and different groups within that, subculture, subgroups within that, with that side. But if you have that, you're going to cause division, and you're not going to be all on the same page. And probably this is probably what we're seeing at Everton as well now, Matt, because if a lot of these players last season were performing well under Carlo Ancelotti. So there has to be a reason, and it's usually up there, why players aren't performing at that level. We're seeing top players, like, just bringing it back to Doucouré, Alan. Like, I know Doucouré's picked up a few injuries, but Alan in particular, he was being, I mean, Arsenal, we could take him. Any top side in the league he could play for. And then a lot of these players have not been at that level. And there's different factors that we're probably not going to be privy to unless you're in that dressing room. So that Aubameyang situation as a whole, best for all three parties to move on. Piers Morgan, take that, please, and understand that it's going to be best.
The problem with it is as well, Tariq, right? Say, for example, if you have a player who's obviously on the biggest wage at the club, it's record signing or whatever, like managers or boards or selectors feel that they have to play these players. The fans want to see him play and all this kind of stuff. So if you continue playing Aubameyang, then you might have someone like Martinelli wanting to get out there, and then you have a young talent there that gets pissed off then sitting on the bench. This fella doesn't even want to be here, and he's getting the game ahead of me. And then you have Lacazette there, who was getting minimal game time. But you've shown now Lacazette over the last like 10 to 12 games since Aubameyang has left. Lacazette is that glue for those youngsters as well. The link-up play for some of the goals has been absolutely incredible. And like you say, it's the Arsenal revival this year. I didn't think it was going to be this year because I did think other teams around them, like you say, like Arsenal, were going to find it hard to get back up into that top four because not only the likes of Chelsea, Man City, and Liverpool are improving, so are the likes of Leicester. Even though Leicester have been a bit of a flop this year, in my opinion, but you have the likes of West Ham, Wolves. They're kind of improving as well. So it was always going to be hard for Arsenal to get that fifth or sixth spot. But I said to you a couple of months ago, Tariq, that those games in hand for Arsenal, they're in a false position in the league. If they start to get the points on the board, which they did do, and look where they are now, I genuinely do think four places Arsenal's to lose. And I just think at the moment Arsenal are the form team. And I think it was I watching one of your streams the other night. I can't remember who said it. I don't think it was Bobby. One of them said it, that they said that you should be looking at trying to catch third and not looking over your shoulder at fifth coming for you. And I always have that mentality as well. It's like, because if you're trying to chase Chelsea, the worst thing that'll happen to you is you'll finish fourth.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're looking over your shoulder, we can't lose this game because United will win this game and they'll be 3 points closer to us and all that kind of stuff. So, in my opinion, it's Arsenal's to lose, but they have to just keep looking. And hopefully they have it boxed off, Tariq, because the last game of the season, you have Everton at the Emirates, and I think Everton might need a couple of points in that game to stay up. You never know. But listen,
I hope that you box that one off, so that if we need to grab the points, then
it's gonna be sorted. Isn't it gonna be such a mad game? Like, if Everton need a point to stay up and Arsenal need a point to get Champions League, so we just shake hands at the start of the game, be like, "Nil all draw, lads."
0-0, yeah, leave the ball right there. Yeah.
It'd be amazing.
Give a lap of honour for the whole 90 minutes.
Let Seamus Coleman score a few goals and then just let Arsenal equalise in the last few minutes. I'm really hoping that Everton don't need anything out of the last 2 games of the season. I think it's going to be huge. We might as well have a little bit of a chat about Everton while we're here.
Yeah.
Sure. Everton have to play Burnley in 2 weeks' time. I think the first game back is West Ham. Then they have a midweek game against Burnley. Huge game. I think the game against West Ham is probably slightly bigger for one simple reason. Liverpool are playing Watford and Man City are playing Burnley for when Everton are playing West Ham. You would assume that Man City and Liverpool are going to beat Watford and Burnley. Therefore, if Everton can pick up a point, possibly even 3 points, it's like 6 points. And then you're coming in to Everton having to play Burnley. It's at Turf Moor, I think, so it's going to be a bit difficult for Everton because their away form is shocking. But if we can get a point or 3 points against West Ham and then get 3 points against Burnley, you'd nearly say we're safe as houses. You would like to think so, because I don't see Burnley picking up 4 or 5 wins in the last 7 or 8 games. Might as well ask your opinion at the moment then, in terms of the bottom of the table. You have obviously Norwich, Watford, Burnley, Everton, Brentford and Leeds are the teams that are kind of still in that scrap. We're coming in now after the March international break, where they call it the sprint finish. 8 to 9 games left. I think Everton still have 11 games left, obviously due to COVID and stuff like that. A lot of games were cancelled. You may say Everton are in a bit of a false position because they have 2 or 3 games on the teams around them. What's your feeling on at the moment? Do you think the bottom 3 are going to be the bottom 3, or could somebody like Everton, Brentford and Leeds drop in?
So who's in there? Norwich,
Watford and Burnley.
Okay.
Burnley, Watford, sorry.
Oh, yeah, because Watford, they grabbed the win against Southampton. So it's going to be, when I'm looking at these sides, I put Everton and Watford in a similar category, because with Everton and Watford, they have quality players up top that can score them goals. That they have the edge over, the likes of Burnley, even Leeds, for example, in and around them. To score the goals. Richarlison, Calvert-Lewin, if you can get him fit and keep him firing towards the end of the season. Anthony Gordon, who's looked a bright spark. I know you spoke about him and you said, he looks quality, but that little bit of end product, that's the difference. And I totally agree with that. Damari Gray, who had a great start to the season, kind of tailed off a little bit since Frank Lampard came in particular. But yeah, so you do have a lot of quality players, and the same is for Watford. Dennis, Sarr, King, who can score goals at this level. Cucho Hernandez, who's came out of nowhere and scoring quite screamers against Arsenal. Yeah. But with Everton though, it's do you have the right mentality to get out of that position? Whereas Burnley, yes, they've dipped in a bit of form now, but you've seen that they can go on a run of games. And Leeds and Brentford look like they're pulling away, but what they have is cohesiveness in that side, that togetherness. The fans are all together as well. I'm not saying that Everton aren't, but the direction where the club is going at Everton and the fans, it's completely different. And there's a little bit of tension between there, which we've seen. When you played us, actually, wasn't you meant to have that walkout?
Yeah, and then Everton played well, so nobody walked out.
That's it. We were so bad in that game, so everyone was like, "Oh, let's just stick around. What we might grab something here."
Yeah, I think if our Arsenal had went 1 or 2 up before the 27th minute, I think a lot of people would have walked out. But the fact that Everton started the game so well, they were like, "I might as well get my money's worth here and stick around." But Brentford, I'm just going to go through the games now. So from 15th down, okay. Now Newcastle at 29 points play at 31 points, but you feel as though obviously Newcastle probably have the quality to kind of get 2 or 3 more wins and they'll be okay. So I am kind of thinking it's Brentford down. Brentford have played 30 games, they're on 30 points. Leeds have played 30 games on 29 points. Then it gets interesting because you have Everton 27 games played, 25 points. Watford 29, so they're in a bit of a false position down there. Burnley 27. Wow. And they're on 21 points, and Norwich do look doomed. They're only on 17 points. Like if Burnley pick up 2 wins out of those games in hand, they're only 3 points off Brentford. So Brentford aren't that far ahead of them. Do you know what I mean? So I think the games in hand for Burnley are obviously against the likes of Everton and stuff like that. So it is going to be really, really interesting. Like you say, Watford, Norwich, Burnley, Leeds, and Brentford are probably used to scrapping out for results when they need them most. Yeah. Everton are the team down there who aren't used to scrapping for it. Everton have players in their squad who do not want to be involved in the relegation battle. The likes of Dominic Calvert-Lewin, he's probably saying to himself, well, Arsenal are looking at me in the summer. Why would I bother? Like, so plus, like, you have to think of it this way. Like Dominic Calvert-Lewin is probably saying, if Everton stay up, I cost 60 million. If Everton go down, I only cost 30 million. Do you know what I mean? So a lot of players are probably saying to themselves, it's a good thing if Everton go down. And like, players don't have allegiances to clubs anymore. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, the likes of Anthony Gordon, Seamus Coleman, you probably say Richarlison loves the club. They really do. The likes of Andre Gomez and stuff like that, they don't care. Do you know what I mean? They're on 120 grand a week. They probably have a clause in their contract that if they get relegated, they get to go for nothing. So, but I do think Everton have too much juice to go down. I'm still not panicking yet. But if we don't pick up a result against West Ham and Burnley beat us,
that's it.
That's when it's panic stations.
It's that Burnley game for me, Matt. Like, because that game's bigger for Burnley than it is for you guys. Because if you beat Burnley, I think that's kind of gets you clear of them. And
just don't get beat. Just don't get beat. Like if we're away from home against West Ham and Burnley, if we can get 2 points out of that, Burnley haven't gained any ground on us because I'm hoping Man City beat Burnley. So after these 2 games, we're a point ahead of them. So that's my thinking of it. It's just Everton's away form has been so bad. I mean, we're getting beaten, but we're getting battered. Like, we're getting battered by teams. 3-4, 5-0 against Spurs there a few weeks ago as well. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting finish this season. And I don't know. I suppose I'd probably rather be 17th in a relegation battle than sitting in 11th doing nothing, playing for nothing. But it's I'm not confident about it at the moment because I just think this Everton team don't have a spine. And I do think the Premier League are kind of out to get us a little bit. We won't get into that.
Hey, so, don't worry. We're in the same boat. Don't worry about that. The Premier League sorting out the Chelsea Man United game right next to each other.
Yeah, I know. But listen, you are sitting in 4th. Everton are sitting in 17th. It's a big difference, all right? Let's have a look at upcoming fixtures, okay? I'm going to fly through these upcoming fixtures, right? And then we're going to have a chinwag about a couple of games that are in there that are standing out to us, okay? So the first game on Saturday is Liverpool against Watford. I'm cheering for Liverpool in that game. I don't care, whatever. Brighton are playing Norwich. You'd hope Brighton just don't get beaten in that game because that would be the sort of game where you're kind of saying, for God's sake, just beat them. Like Burnley, Man City, again, hoping for a Man City win there. Chelsea and Brentford, again, hoping for a Chelsea win there. Leeds and Southampton, you probably say Southampton probably try and get a few points as well so they can just solidify that mid-table spot. Wolves and Aston Villa, bit of a derby game there, is it? Yeah, Wolves and Aston Villa, the derby game there. Man United, Leicester, and then we move into the Sunday games. West Ham, Everton, Tottenham and Newcastle on Sunday. They're 2 decent games on a Sunday. And then the big local YouTube derby on Monday night between Tariq Talks and Eagle Eye Football, Crystal Palace at home again. That's going to be a good game. Selhurst Park under the lights at 8 o'clock kickoff. Right, so let's get stuck into a few games there that are sticking out to us. Probably Man United and Leicester evening game on the Saturday is going to be a decent enough game. That's a game that Manchester United are going to need to win if they want to try and chase Arsenal. If they lose that game, then you'd nearly say they're not even getting fifth spot. Never mind fourth spot. Obviously the Spurs and Newcastle game is going to be a nice game as well on Sunday evening. West Ham and Everton. Obviously, if Everton turn up, that would be a nice game as well. Then obviously you have Crystal Palace and Arsenal. So let's get stuck into your game on the Monday night, and then we'll gloss over the rest of them as well. Crystal Palace at home to Arsenal. What do you expect now of that game? Because I heard you talking the other night, and you were saying that you didn't expect Arsenal to get a win in this game. You would take a draw tonight.
Do you know what? I would take a draw because anything other than the defeat, because with a defeat, it would mess up momentum. That's where the big factor is. And then all eyes on Arsenal pressure. You know, I'd be hearing within my own fan base, these lads, bottle jobs, they're only young, they're inexperienced, da. But against Palace, I actually think my whole panel, everyone went, all right, draw. I'm predicting a draw. I was the only one who went for a win because that's how much I have belief in this squad.
Do you know what I thought was funny though? I thought you were saying, I don't think we're going to beat Palace. I don't think we're going to beat Palace. And 2 weeks later, we'll beat Chelsea. Yeah, we'll beat Chelsea. Yeah.
I know, yeah. Exactly.
I was like, what?
And then I was there the other way around, like, well, excuse me, I'm taking a defeat, 1-0 defeat against Chelsea right now. Like, if you get putting that on a play. I think we can beat Palace. And with Palace, a lot of their attention is going to be on the FA Cup, And Palace fans, I know you'll like to believe, and believe me, I've seen my side win an FA Cup when we've had nothing else to play for. It is not as easy to get yourself up for those games, especially when you're playing against someone who you expect to, who are actually still challenging for something, and the level that we're performing at of late. It just all depends on who comes back fit for international break. This is why we hate international break. I know you do, because Richarlison always has to travel at thousands of miles.
I'm worried about if Seamus Coleman will come back fit. That's my problem.
There you go. And even Patterson's been playing games for Scotland, hasn't he?
I said it to some of the guys on here as well, and I was talking actually the co-host that can't be here, Jamie. I said to him, watch Nathan Patterson start for Scotland and get man of the match. And he was unbelievable, and he'll come back and he'll be on the bench. I don't see it can't get any worse. We're losing games 3 or 4-0. Why not just play him? Obviously, you can understand about the Michaelenko situation, obviously with the stuff that's going on in Ukraine at the moment. You'd understand if he's not in the right state of mind. I'm sure he's making himself available to play, but you can understand why Frank Lampard wouldn't want it. Now, listen, you say to yourself, I have to trust in these players to get me out of the situation. The players that he's picking aren't performing. Why not try something new? Why not try something different? He could have played Patterson in the game against Crystal Palace. Obviously, you're saying to yourself, you want to start off well. Everton seem to be seem to be like running out of gas after 20 minutes, and then other teams just come in and score a goal before half time, and that's the end of it. But we're going off the tangent there. I don't want to get too much into. Sorry, I got my Everton binoculars on there, and I was putting the Everton blinkers on. And I was like, oh no. But listen,
it was my fault. I brought it back to you.
I'm going to counteract this now, Tariq. If Arsenal want top 4, they have to beat Palace on Monday. You can't be turning around saying, we'll take a draw against Crystal Palace. You're trying to aspire to be a top 4 Champions League team. You have to beat the likes of Palace, and then you go to the games like Chelsea and say, we'll take a draw here. You need to be beating the likes of Palace. You need to be beating the likes of Southampton away from home if you want to get that top 4. Because if you lose against Crystal Palace on Monday, you have Manchester United there going. Obviously, who are Manchester United playing again? Did we say they're playing Leicester at home? So like Manchester United pick up 3 points there. They're playing before you guys. So if they pick up 3 points, Arsenal ball it on the Monday, then all of a sudden you're under serious pressure to keep that top 4 spot. So I think on Monday it has to be Arsenal 3 points. Has to be.
I think we will. Well, it won't be, but if Arsenal take the lead, I think that's it really. Like the worst we'll get is a draw. and by an error or something. It's all about that first goal for Arsenal. We saw it against Villa. Once we got that first goal, Villa weren't really ever getting back into the game, and that's how we are, and that's how we are set up as a side right now. I'm confident that we can. And with Palace, their defense. That Everton game, yeah. At that start of it, you guys are putting them under serious pressure.
I know, but listen, it's Everton. I actually didn't get to see the game because I was actually out golfing, thank God. But I was looking at my phone and I was like, geez, Everton are all over them here. Then it was like 1-0 Palace. I was like, yeah, typical, yeah, lovely. But we actually have Ed is in here. You should beat Palace. Friendlies are dreadful. No need for them anymore. I think Reese has come in here. He's a Scotsman. He's a United fan at heart, obviously, but he's touches on Rangers as well. He was excellent in the present team at Rangers. Give him a chance. And attacking fullback, Lampard should realistically see this. Ed with an interesting question here before we touch on other things there. How many Everton players get into this Arsenal side? Pickford will get in ahead of Ramsdale anyway. I think that's for sure. But
you did it on purpose.
I know, yeah. No, I'd say in all seriousness, right? If you're looking at the Everton, and I'm not going on form now, I'm just going on what the level that players should be playing at. Not many Everton players get into that Arsenal squad. Like you'd probably have an argument for Pickford and Ramsdale, like loggerheads in terms of 50-50 any given day. Centre halves, Gabriel and Ben White all day. You might have an argument for Yerry Mina, but he's never fit, so you can't put that in there. Seamus Coleman, right back, he's been a great servant, but you wouldn't probably have him in ahead of Tomiyasu or Suarez is there now, or Cedric is he at the moment?
Yeah,
he's playing well. And obviously Kieran Tierney is a savage left back as well, and we just got rid of our best left back to Aston Villa, and then we sacked the manager 3 days later. So, and then the midfield probably Xhaka and Partey, and then you're looking at Doucouré, Alan,
maybe Alan, Doucouré,
maybe Alan
on their day again ahead of Xhaka, but
then you're looking at Gordon, Martinelli. Obviously, it's going to be Martinelli, Gordon, though Smith Rowe as well. Then you're going up top, Lacazette or DCL.
It depends what you want, man. I mean, DCL would score more goals from
Lacazette or Richarlison.
Oh, you see, Richarlison, he's so frustrating at times because he can do the amazing things, but then he won't pass, which is completely opposite to Lacazette. Where you want him to shoot, he passes, and when you want Richarlison to pass, he shoots.
But I think Richarlison in a better team would. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I think he tries to do too much because he probably feels like the players around him won't do what he wants them to do. Do you know what I mean? I think if you stuck Richarlison in Man City's team, I think he would be like, you just have to look at him. He came on for Brazil there the other day and scored an injury time goal for Brazil.
Good point.
So,
it's a good point. So I'd say Richarlison, if under a coach and a better team where he's been told, right, if you ain't passing this in these situations here and you're going for the wrong decision, you're getting dropped. Yeah, I think I'd say Richarlison over Lacazette. And then DCL, okay. I'd love DCL in the squad, but as a bench player.
Do you think that's going to happen? Do you think that's going to happen in the summer?
Depends if you get relegated, really. I think because the price would be right then. What, 30 million we could get for DCL if you guys did go down? Getting for 30 million and then, Darwin Nunez or something like that. Or keep Lacazette even. I think that would be a good deal.
What do you think DCL is worth? Because I think it's going to be one of those signings, kind of like the Ben White signing. Young English centre-half, young English centre-forward, trying to break into the... I think in terms of for Dominic Calvert-Lewin, if he's looking to get onto the plane to Qatar, he'll be wanting to go to someone like Arsenal. Yeah, do you know what I mean? True. Because Dominic Calvert-Lewin playing for Everton or Dominic Calvert-Lewin playing for Arsenal.
Yeah.
Who gets on the plane? Dominic Calvert-Lewin playing for Arsenal. So that's, I think I think if Everton stay up by the skin of their teeth this season, I still think players like Dominic Calvert-Lewin will probably try to leave. And it breaks me heart to say that, but at the same time, I think this Everton squad needs a reset.
Yeah.
And we aren't capable financially at the moment to spend money without selling players. And I think it's going to come down to having to sell someone like Dominic Calvert-Lewin or Richarlison.
Yeah.
And I think someone like Frank Lampard's going to come in and probably say, well, Richarlison wants to be here. You don't. So let's sort of deal out on the table. Let's go through a few more comments here as well. So Iwobi, Ed said, get into the Arsenal squad. I don't know. On his day, he's a great player.
Get lost, Matt. Don't try it.
In my opinion, Reece says only my opinion. Only two, given Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison. Ed said DCL, Richarlison, Gomez. Don't even talk to me about Gomez. Gomez is. I can actually count on two hands. Gomez has been there. I think he's been there 3.5 seasons.
Yeah,
2.5, 3.5 seasons. He's played probably 6 or 7 games where I've said he's a good player. He hasn't done much. I think if he's given time in midfield, he's quality. He's a flair player. Yeah. He's suited to La Liga. He's not suited to a high intensity midfield in the Premier League. 100% he's not. 100% true. Dude on the left looks like Eddie Hearn. I assume you're talking about me.
oh my! You know what? I hear it now. I see. Yeah. You do look like Eddie Hearn. You do. 100% true. Spot on, Matty.
Ed, I love Palace. Just think Arsenal will win. Plus, I'm sticking my prayers up for you lot in the FA Cup. He's obviously chatting to Eagle Eyed here. He's come in here and he's come in with a thanks Ed there, and Ed's been laughing at it. Yeah, but I've been called worse. I've also been called Noel Gallagher as well, with a bit of grey hair coming
Well, so. You got too many lookalikes, you have. Go on,
100%
true. Who do I look like?
Yeah, throw it in there. Who does Tariq look like there before we finish it off? But, so, obviously, we've chatted about Arsenal, we've chatted about Everton, we've chatted about the England team coming up and all that kind of stuff. Aspirations for the rest of the season for your club, Arsenal, okay? And then we're going to touch on who do you think is going to win the league? Who do you think is getting second and third? And obviously, we're just going to assume that you're going to say Arsenal are getting fourth, okay? And then tell me who's getting fifth and sixth, and then tell me who's getting relegated.
Interesting. Right. Where should we start off with there?
Top of the table, because then leave Everton till last.
I'm gonna say Man City. Man City win it, because I think Liverpool will win the Champions League. Oh, it's difficult. Whoever wins the league, I think the second place team will win the Champions League. So if Liverpool win it, City, I don't know. It's so hard. You get me on the spot, man.
We can't let Liverpool win the quadruple.
Oh no, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't.
It could happen.
But, hey, Matt, I'm on this show. Yeah, I'm saying it's not going to happen. And if it does happen,
clip it.
Yeah, exactly. Give me a challenge. If it happens, I'll gladly, because I can't see it happening.
And if Liverpool win the quadruple, you have to change your YouTube channel to Tariq Talks Liverpool for 2 weeks.
For 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay, right, grand. Yeah. Anybody actually in the comments, right? What does Tariq have to do if Liverpool win the quadruple? And listen, I do not want it to happen. Yeah. I'm sure a lot of you in the comments don't want to happen.
You don't need to do a forfeit. You'll be suffering enough anyway.
I'll suffer. Listen, I'm telling you now, if Everton get relegated and Liverpool win the quadruple, I think I'll just give up football. I think I won't. You'll never, ever see me again. But listen, before we kick on to the 5th and 6th spots, 100% true. No homo, but dude on the right got a great smile.
Hey, 100% true. I'm suffering with hay fever allergies.
He does.
So the fact that he's saying that, I appreciate that, man.
Super Nick, big up everybody. Manchester Mania said Liverpool will. Manchester Mania unfollowed me on Twitter the other day. I don't know why. There's a bit of beef going on there. I don't know why. I don't know what I did to annoy him, but listen, we'll see. Reece came in. Whichever one wins either makes me ill. Liverpool win the league or you're waiting for the Champions League again is not wanted. I think Rich is coming in here because he doesn't want to be the only one doing it. The one chip challenge for when it happens.
I'll take it.
Here's one from Reece now. He needs to wear a Spurs shirt with Harry Kane on the back.
Oh my days, Reece! I've already had to wear a forfeit before. I had to wear a Man United and Spurs scarf. So another Spurs one. Oh, nah.
And Ed, you're Ed in here. Tariq Talks has to sing "You'll Never Walk Alone" from start to the end.
Do you know what?
What would you rather? What would you rather?
Oh, man, the one chip challenge will ruin me. The Kane, I can't. Nah, I'd easily say yeah. I'd sing "Never Walk Alone."
Right, this is what's going to happen.
This
is going to happen, right? If Liverpool win the quadruple, right, you have to wear a Spurs shirt. Do the one chip challenge, and sing "You'll Never Walk Alone" after eating the chips.
Oh, that's it. You finished me. All right,
That'd be it.
Liverpool,
That's going
you
to be the
cannot
one.
do the quad. I
Yeah,
big up
okay.
Liverpool all the time. Not to Matt, of course, but yeah.
Okay, fifth and sixth spot. We'll finish it off. We'll try and get this up done in under an hour. 5 minutes left. So fifth and sixth spot. Who do you think's happening? Obviously, we're assuming Arsenal are getting fourth.
Yes, I'm saying fifth Spurs, sixth Man United. Just the
Okay.
run of games, really, for Spurs looks way more favourable for them.
Right. Okay. So and then let's do 20th, 19th, and 18th position.
Norwich bottom and 20th. Watford in 19th. I'm going to say, just because it's Matt's here, I'm going to say Burnley. No, but all honesty,
Be honest. Be honest.
I seriously do think you can go down. Like,
I do as
I'm
well.
gonna,
I think Everton don't have the bottle for it, so I think they can go down.
I'm going to say Burnley though, just because I think Everton may sneak a win or two, like just like how you did against Newcastle.
I think Everton have to pick their battles now. So
yeah,
Everton have to kind of go into games and be like, we need 3 points against Burnley. We need 3 points against Watford. There's no point in beating West Ham and then losing to Burnley. Do you know what I mean? So, like you say, I think if Everton do get 3 or 4 wins, but I think all Everton need to do at the moment is just go into games and just say, do not concede, take a draw now, because 11 draws means we're safe. Like we still have to play Man City, we still have to play Liverpool.
Isn't that hard
Chelsea.
to say though, Matt? Like when you've got a leaky defense, you can't just really take a draw. Wouldn't you just have to like try and outscore teams in a way?
We can't score. That's the problem. That's the problem at the moment.
It's a bad recipe. That is, you can't defend and you can't score.
So the last time, right, and I'll say this, right, Sam Allardyce gets a lot of stick, right, for being Sam Allardyce, right.
Yeah.
He came in when Everton was struggling to score goals and we're conceding goals, and he came in and just said, if you don't concede, you won't lose the game, right? So he came in and yeah, we drew a few games. We picked up horrible 1-0 wins against the likes of Newcastle and Crystal Palace and Southampton. But we climbed the table and it's been our best finish in the last 7 years. Is 8th spot under Allardyce. So if Lampard can just shore up that defence, not worry too much about trying to burst people in the first 20 minutes. I'd rather Everton sit back, not concede in the first half an hour and then try and play football.
Yeah.
Because there's no point in like flying the first 20, 25 minutes and then conceding 2 goals before half time when you're out of the game. And I think Everton need to pick their battles. I think we have to play Crystal Palace, we have to play Burnley, Watford. We've games at home against like Manchester United where I could see Everton turning up.
Yeah,
I'm just nicking a win, do you know what I mean? Especially if it's under the lights, if it's been moved for an evening game or something like that. So they're the games where I'm kind of half confident by. But listen, oh man, I'm nervous coming in now. Like we're touching into April now, 2 months left of the season. Everton are in financial meltdown. It's going to be gas when Everton have a 52,000 brand new stadium in League One in a few years' time. It's going to be mental, isn't it?
For sure. I know. Everton can't go down. Come on, stick. This what you're seeing right now in the chat, guys. Never been relegated. Make sure you stick with that, all right, Matt?
Never been relegated, but it can still happen. But listen, I'm trying to be. I'm a confident enough person myself, and I'm positive enough person myself and stuff like that. But they're not filling me with confidence, and they're not filling me with any positivity. So, but listen, Tariq, thank you so much for coming on the channel. Obviously, big up to Jamie. He wasn't able to jump on. I gave Tariq a text at the 12th hour, and he jumped on. So really, really appreciate it. And the guys, Kane running the channel as well, really appreciates it as well. But Tariq, this is your moment now. Where can we find you? Obviously, I want to actually mention as well, give a shout out to the stream you did last night as well, because that was a great stream. I watched a bit of that this morning. But where can we find you? And then obviously have a chat about your new episode that came out last night.
Yeah, you can find me over at Tariq Talks, right there. Tariq Talks, where Ed's put in the comments there. I don't just talk Arsenal. I talk a lot about Arsenal, of course, but it's all things like football, Premier League, Champions League. I'll be doing a Serie A show coming up on the weekend, and a live stream for that one, Juventus versus Inter Milan. But the show that we did yesterday is completely different and not to do with football. It's talking about life. And the first episode came out. Me and Rich did it. Big up Rich from Eagle Eye Football. and we spoke about childhood. So yeah, go check it out, people. Subscribe. You'll be more than welcome into the TTF, which stands for Tariq Talks Fam. And yeah, you can join in the Discord server as well to stay tuned and connected with everyone. See, big up everyone. Thank you for letting me come on, Matt. And yeah, man, it's been a pleasure.
Mark Biggs, who's actually sponsored by Gillette himself, the handsome
really?
man. No, he's not really, but we just say Mark Gillette Biggs. He's but he's a handsome man himself. I heard Eddie Hearn was here. Yeah, well, he's not. But what can you do? Listen, now I've seen Mark Biggs there. I do have to mention that Mark is going to be live on this channel. He is interviewing Haida Rubani at 9 p.m. He's the Masterclass Tactical Podcast. So make sure you guys stick around. That's going to be a very, very interesting. We're going to talk about all things Manchester United. And I hope I said that name right. If I didn't, I apologise going forward. So make sure you get stuck into that with Mark Biggs. Reese here came in and said, sub now to your channel, man. So
big
there
up,
you
Reese.
go.
We talk a lot of United as well.
Something came from this. And in fairness to Tariq, obviously he's an Arsenal fan. He streams most nights and he does pop up on other people's channels and all that kind of stuff. He does watch alongs for other teams, not just his own. And he's constantly talking. I mean, I was on your channel there last week and we did a draft Premier League one. That was great crack, wasn't it? It was really good fun.
Guys, check that one out as well. And please, Reese, make sure that, put some sense in the comments because Matt won. Yeah. With Damien Duff.
I can't believe I picked Damien Duff over Hazard, lads. But listen, nobody picked Hazard, and I'm going, oh, lads, you all missed Damien Duff, but he could have put Hazard in instead of Damien Duff. But listen, yeah, check that one out. That was actually quite funny, so make sure you check that out. Tariq, thank you so much for coming on, and luckily I exist to fix, man. Listen, thanks so much, guys, and listen, we'll be back again next Monday as well, same time, same channel, and all that. Make sure you check out all the other stuff that's on this channel as well. Reese is looking after the weekly Steel Chair podcast as well. If you like a bit of wrestling, he looks after that channel as well. Rach and Greg and Tim look after the basketball channel, Diamond Buckets. I think that's on Fridays as well. There's loads of Manchester United content as well if you're a Manchester United fan. So make sure you get stuck into this channel. Give this channel a subscribe. Make sure you share, like, and comment, all that stuff, and stick the notification bell on. Tariq, thank you so much again. I've been Matt Smith. He's been Tariq Talks, and that was the Talk of the League podcast. Tariq, thanks again, pal.
See you, man. Cheers.